Hello, this is Bonnie. Today I'm going to try to do some masking and some stenciling with the new book release. And just to let you know what I'm using, I'm using a stitched heart, but and this one's from 2D Designs, and it measures about 3 inches by 2 3/4 inches, almost 3 inches across. A little bit further, bigger than 2 3/4. And I cut that one out of this Gina K Masking Magic to make my mask. This is just a thin coated paper with a sticky back, but it's not, it's removable, so it's not going to ruin your paper. And that works really, really well. In fact, it says that on here. It's a delicate tack adhesive, reusable, and it's ultra thin. So this will work really well for when I do the masking. And then my stenciling, I also cut then another one out, and I've used this and I just have saved it. And I use that for a stencil, and this is just cardstock. So what I did is I went ahead and cut out a heavier stock white cardstock to use for my card base, for the layer. And so then what I'm going to do is I am going to peel off this backing. Sometimes you can find the creases, sometimes you can't, depending on what the size is of your mask. And I'm going to set that in the center of my card, because I am going to make, it's going to be kind of like a halo around this. But I also want to leave the inside so I can stamp inside of it. So the colors I'm going to be using is Distress Oxide, the Villianous Potion, and I am just going to go around the outside of this, and to get, I want to get the outline of the heart on the outside, but I don't want it to be really, really dark. It's going to be dark on this, but not dark on what I'm doing behind. Just kind of like want it subtle. And I want to gradually add other colors to this. So I'm just kind of like using my blending brush and starting in the center of the mask, or not center, but on the mask and going out from the mask. Not unusual for any type of blending that you would probably do. But because I'm going to add several colors, I don't want to make this line go out too far. And I don't want it, like I said, to be really, really dark, but I want you to be able to tell that it's purple. So, like I said, I'm going to be doing this with several colors that would blend into this. So you can kind of see how that looks so far. The next color I'm going to use is Worn Lipstick. And a blending brush. And like I said, I'm just going to be coming out a little bit from that. I might have to come back in with a purple again, and that's okay. I'm just, like I said, coming out from that. And because purple has red in it, it does blend with that well. So I am going to probably add a little bit more purple to define it. It kind of looks, I don't know, it has a little bit of a cloudy haze-ish to it. And that's how I'm going to do it with that color. And like I said, I'll probably add a little bit more of the purple, but I'm going to wait till I add the last color. And I'm going to add, I don't want this to be too dark, so I'm going to test this on a piece of paper really quick because I didn't try that first. I'll try it. This is a Fossilized Amber. Yep, that's going to work. Okay, so then the next one is Fossilized Amber. Now if I go over this yellow, or it's kind of a yellow and pink, make a little bit of an orange cast. So I'm just going to kind of like lightly add that to the outside. And again, like I said, I'm going to come back in. I should have put a paper behind this. I'm going to ruin my top, although it's already pretty much ruined. All right. So with this color, I'm going to go all the way to the outside, but I'm still blending through lightly, not heavy, and then get heavier towards the outside. So starting light and getting heavier towards the outside. Because I want it to, again, blend it in. So yeah, this takes a little bit of time. And yes, I could have probably fast forwarded it for you, but I think it's kind of nice to see things, how long it takes to do things in real time. I mean, a little bit heavier up here, so I want to really match that up so it is uniform by adding a little bit more color. And I probably can come in from down here to add more color. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to try to balance that out a little bit. And I'm going to come back in with just a little bit of Villianous Potion and the worn lipstick to try to blend that in a little bit, but I'm not heavy-handed. All right, and then we'll just add a little bit more of the worn lipstick. So those are the three colors that I used. I'm going to kind of like go more in the middle and not really too much over the purple again. I don't want to blend it out too much, make it too dark. So then I'm going to add just a little bit more of the Fossilized Amber. This it just takes a little bit of time to get it the way you like it. I'm going to come in from the outside on these. Make that blend in a little bit. Now I'm not going to take off the mask yet because there's some stamping that I want to do on the outside around this first. So, but before I do some stamping, I do want to use some water on this. I want to spray it just a little bit to give it a little bit of texture. So I'm going to do that first. And go ahead and take that off. And then I'm going to heat set that right away using the heat tool. But I'm going to use the larger drops, so that means I don't spray it. I kind of like hold it in and just squirt it like that. You can kind of see the big drops. It's not going to affect the mask because I'm going to be doing that right away. So I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm all ready to start stamping on the heart, and I am going to be using the Magnolia branch, and like I said, I am keeping the mask on for right now, and I do need to do a little bit of whoops, need to add a little bit of tape to this area. I'm going to stamp around the heart. I think I've got enough tape there to start. Okay, so lots of times people use the wreath building tool, but in this case it's going to be a little bit different than that. So I am going to try to build this up by just going around the heart. And so it's just going to kind of like overlap it in a way, and I'm looking at it as I'm setting this on. This really helps. The acetate sheet that comes with the die, or comes with the stamps, excuse me. And I am going to be using Nocturne, VersaFine Clair Nocturne all the way around. I also like the idea that this particular stamp in the collection, it has open spaces that you can actually color in if you want to, or the design behind will show through. So you need to push where that matches up to the mask so that you get it. So now, just because I don't want to get the ink all over the place, I'm going to go ahead and use a little bit. I'm not too worried, but I know that it sticks on here, so it's fine. I just wanted to double check. And then we're going to like overlap just a little bit, but not go out too far. I know about how far I went out. I think that will work. And you don't really need to stamp for this kit. You don't need to stamp the whole stamp. You just need to stamp the end of it. And that worked there. I'm just gonna, like I said, dab that slightly. It's not really coming off, so I'm doing okay, even with that mask. And I want to make this go to the point. So we'll go about right there. I think that works. Okay. Like I said, be careful of your fingers whenever you do this, because whatever's on your fingers could get on your card, the ink. That's going to overlap a little bit right there, and I'm okay with that. I think that'll work. In fact, I'm tempted to put a little piece right here. I probably will try to come back and attempt that. I think I need to get that little bit. Alright. I'm going to try to get this little spot right there while I'm here. I think it needs a flower. And like I said, I don't care that this other one overlaps it a little bit, because that's what happens really when you have a bouquet of flowers. And I'm fine with that. But I'm just going to try to stamp that little bit on the end. Yep, that works. Alright, so now I continue around. And again, I'm looking at this because I want to make sure that I fill that up also up at the top. So I think this will work. I don't want to go out too far. because it'll be off-centered. Okay. All right, that works. And we just have this one more spot that I really want to get, so I might have to add some more flowers up there at the top. I think I do. So I'm going to bring this closer. All right. Trying to be careful of that one up there at the top that I don't overlap that, because it's probably got a little bit of ink on it. All right. And then just a little bit more, I think, up here at the top. All right, so then this is where I get a little fussy and I kind of like pay attention to what's what. Without having lift up the mask, I have to kind of figure that out. And I don't know if I want to overlap. I don't think I'm going to. I think I'm going to leave it be. So I'm just going to let it be the way that is. And then I'm going to go ahead and lift that up. But I think I might, I don't know if I'm going to add something more. So I'm going to test that out first. And I'll be right back. Okay, so just looking at it, I decided that I'm going to leave that the way that is and add things maybe around it. I'm not sure. Or I can add things. So I'm going to go ahead and do that reveal, show you what this looks like. And technically you're going to say, oh, you could probably just have put a white heart on top of that, and that's true, but this is all one layer now. And I think that we're going to be okay if I do add a little bit of that ink, on there, which is what I like to do. So to keep the ink in that place, this is the next step I do. I could have taken it off of here. Is that you're going to just set this on. It won't mess up your ink that you just did. And you can go ahead and use that, and you can tape that down. Like I said, this washi tape is not the best washi tape in the world. It tends to like to tear whenever I want to use it. There we go. So I'm going to put that there and this down here. And then we're going to go ahead and start using what I had before. And I think that's going to be this pink, but I think I'm going to add another color. I didn't use this color, which is a little distracting when you have a different color. Probably should have flipped this over so it doesn't distract me. But so I'm going to start down here, but what I'm going to do is also use a piece of torn paper. So just to give myself a little bit of layer, so I'm just going to tear this up, just like that. It can always be whatever. If you don't like these big, huge spots, you can pull those out. And then you just have some torn paper. And in this case, because I'm going to go this, I'm thinking that's right. Yeah, I think I'm going to go, well, no, I'm going to go this way. And we're going to start at the top. And it's going to sort of look like clouds. So, start at the top. And again, I am using worn lipstick. Okay? And we can probably soften that a little bit too. And I'm going to try to get lighter as I go down. Oops, probably shouldn't have added so much there. Oh well. That'll work anyway for what I'm going to do. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and take that off for a second because I want to see how I want to finish stamping this. And I need to see the whole picture in order to make that design. So that's what it looks like. You have, you know, your cloud. So it looks like it's a framed background. The other thing we can do, very tiny, and I'm going to go ahead and get that too, is we can go ahead and add a teeny tiny moon halo there. And I need to pull that out to see if I've got one. I've got a lot of little ones. I need to find the smallest. And I don't want you to sit there and wait on me, but I think this one's going to work. And I think this one is, I don't see my one, I must have moved it. This probably is about 1 and, it's over 1 1/4, it's almost 1 1/2. So I will probably put that there, but in order to do that, I need to bring this back, because I don't want it to go over into the flowers. And for this one, I'm trying to think of the color. I think I'm going to look at the color underneath again. I am going to use I don't think I want to use a Villianous Potion because it's going to be too dark. So I need to pull out a different purple. I'll be right back. Alright, so for the moon I'm going to use Shaded Lilac, just to give me a little bit of a halo there. Normally, I wouldn't be doing it on top here so I could move my paper, but I left it here, so we'll get it to work. Alright, so that gives us our moon, but I like to soften it. So I go back over with what's on my brush. Alright, so now we need to figure out the next step. Okay, so I decided I'm going to be using Aubrie from the new collection in the center of this heart. But she's going to be like appearing like in the window, kind of like of the heart. So I put the stencil on and she is set up. And then I'm also going to be using the journal butterflies, 2 of them. And then I'm going to be using the sentiment Enjoy Life. But I'm not going to add the butterflies or the sentiment until I take the off the mask or the stencil. It's kind of a mask in this case. So I'm going to be using VersaFine Clear Nocturne again. And I do have the butterflies sitting on here, but I'm not stamping them yet until I take the stencil mask off. And again, this is not really a thin cardstock, so I'm going to have to make sure I get that as close as I can to that line, cut line. I think that looks pretty good. I think her leg. And I can color that little bit in with a marker. Yeah, if you could see those little bits of lines, I'm going to color those in with a marker because that, I call it like a hiccup, or I have to stamp her again anyway. But it's kind of like a hiccup. We'll go ahead and see if they'll show up the second time anyway. I am going to take these butterflies off because I think it's keeping that distance away. All right. I think we're good. And I know she's being a little bit stubborn at stamping because it's Distress Oxide behind there. And it's true, stamping on top of the ink is better. Alright, she stamped perfectly fine. She's a little bit thicker, but she stamped perfectly fine. Okay, so I will take her off, or this mask off rather, stencil mask, because I used it for both. And that's how that will look. And like I said, I will use my marker, and this happens to be a Copic multiliner, and it's a 0.5. And so I'm just going to come down there and fill that little bit in so it looks flush with the outline there. And that works. Okay. Now we're going to add the 2 butterflies. I think I had them going like that. So she's kind of in a heart window. That's kind of like what I call it. And those are our journal butterflies. And those look great. And then we're going to add the Enjoy Life. Just got to find out where I just set that. There we go. Oops. And there we go. We've got everything stamped. Go ahead and take that off so you can see. And that is what she looks like, and the butterflies on this card. And I know that I'm going to go ahead and color in the flowers. I'll get a little bit closer. I'm going to go ahead and color in those flowers and the butterflies, and and probably add some color to her wings. And what I'll do is I always take a photo, and it's at the beginning of the video so you can see what it looks like when it's completed. Thanks so much for stopping by. I will have the information below in the description. And just to remind you that the new release will be in the store on February 17th, 2023. Thanks so much.